So prior to your time at Microsoft, you spent 8 years at Google and were the lead engineer on Kubernetes and co-founder of Kubernetes, really.
Yep.
Freaking awesome, man. How did the formation of Kubernetes come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I was in web search for 4 years. So I worked on Google Web Search, special focus on low latency indexing, news and blogs and social media and like anything where you needed to get it from published it into the index really, really quick. And not just like wait and crawl once a day or crawl every 12 hours or whatever. But like, you post something on Twitter, you expect it to be searchable immediately. It's sub-second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a fun problem. It was a really fun problem. But there was a big reorg and it left Seattle where I was, I worked at Google Seattle. I mean, I grew up in Seattle.
Cool.
And so I switched, and at the time we looked and cloud was really, they had a lot of white space. And so it was really attractive because it was just, as an engineer, I find myself gravitating towards places where there's lots of opportunity.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Conversation. And so it had a ton of white space. And so we gravitated into cloud as a team. I was leading a small team. I was leading a team of about 7 engineers at the time. And we came over, and through doing cloud, I came to have a sense for the way that people are building things out in the real world, as opposed to the Google world. Horrible, to be honest, right?
So you would hear like from a friend or something like, here, hey, how did you construct or deploy or release or this project? And what you heard back was, whoa, that's like behind the times or something? Or how did that?
Look at it. Well, I mean, there's people were using Chef and Puppet. And
I remember.
A bunch of SSH and some bash scripts. And it wasn't so much that it was like they were suffering, like broken glass suffering. It was that it just didn't seem to work very well. Like 85% of the time it would work, and like scripts would fail, and it was heavy and slow and all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, Joe, Beta, and Craig and I were all working together, and Joe and Craig had created the Compute Engine, which is the virtual machine product for Google Cloud.
Yeah, I remember Compute Engine. And then, so they were looking for something, you're saying?
You get to a point and like you've built it and you've shown it, and then the other people are going to take it over, and they were looking and they were thinking about what comes next. And I've been working a lot in the config management space, like CloudFormation-ish stuff or Terraform-ish stuff, and actually looking at Chef and Puppet and Salt and all this tech a lot too at the same time. And we all collectively found Docker right in the early days of when Docker happened. And we looked at Docker and it was like, wow, this is such a necessary prerequisite, because in order to get people started, they have to be motivated to build container images and run containers. And so here's this amazing startup that has come along and built a case for why you should care. In all of our plans, step 1 was convince people to care about containers. And all of a sudden it was done, right?
Yeah, it happened, you're saying.
It happened. They cared. And so we were like, oh my gosh, okay, this is an amazing opportunity. But I don't think they'd had a ton of experience at scale. And they hadn't had a bunch of experience in what happens with lots of machines instead of just one machine. Docker was focused on one machine and a container and a daemon on one machine. And so we said, that's great. And that's fantastic. But you need orchestration. And that started off the process of selling executives on this idea that we should build out this container orchestrator, and that it represented an opportunity to change the market, change the landscape in cloud.